I was standing in the hospital waiting room when my stepsister walked in, her face red from crying, and said, "Please, Maya, please, you're the only match. He's going to die if you don't help him." And I looked at her, this woman I hadn't seen in 8 years, and said, "Good, let him die." She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "How can you say that? He raised you. He took care of you after Mom died." I laughed, a bitter sound that made people turn and stare. "Raised me," I repeated. "He kicked me out when I was 16, told me I wasn't his problem anymore, and left me on the street with a garbage bag full of clothes. So no, I'm not giving him my kidney. I'm not giving him anything. And if he dies knowing I could have saved him but chose not to, that's the kindest thing he'll get from me, because at least he'll die in a warm bed, surrounded by family, which is more than he gave me when I was a scared kid with nowhere to go." My name is Maya. I'm 25 years old, and 8 years ago, my stepdad, Richard, threw me out of the house the day after my 16th birthday. He didn't wait for me to finish school, didn't help me find a place to stay, didn't even pretend to care. He just said, "You're old enough. Now you're not my responsibility anymore. Get out." And when I begged him to let me stay just until I graduated, he looked at me with cold eyes and said, "I never wanted you here in the first place. You were your mother's problem, and now you're nobody's problem, so figure it out." I spent that night on a park bench with everything I owned stuffed into 2 trash bags, crying so hard I thought I'd throw up. And now 8 years later, he's in renal failure, and apparently I'm the only family member who's a tissue match, and they expect me to save him like the last 8 years never happened. Like I owe him something, like I didn't spend years clawing my way out of the hole he threw me into. But here's the thing, I don't owe him anything. And when his family came begging, I made sure they understood exactly why. Let me take you back so you understand how we got here. My mom married Richard when I was 11. She'd been a single mom my whole life, working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. And when she met Richard, this successful contractor with a nice house and stability, she thought she'd finally caught a break. He seemed okay at first, a little cold, a little distant, but my mom was so happy. I tried to be happy too. Then she got sick, cancer, aggressive and fast. She fought for 2 years. But by the time I turned 14, she was gone. In the day after her funeral, Richard sat me down and said, "Things are going to be different. Now your mother spoiled you, made excuses for you, but I'm not going to do that. You're going to earn your keep here." I didn't understand what he meant until he started treating me like a live-in maid. I cooked, I cleaned, I did laundry for him while going to school. And if I complained, he'd say, "You're lucky I'm letting you stay here. Most men wouldn't take on someone else's kid. Be grateful." I tried to be grateful. I tried to stay small and useful and invisible, but it was never enough. When I turned 15, he started talking about how expensive I was, how much I cost him in food and utilities, how I was a burden he didn't ask for. He'd compare me to his friends' kids who were independent and self-sufficient, and imply that I was lazy, ungrateful, a waste of space. I started working part-time at a grocery store, thinking if I contributed money, maybe he'd ease up, but he just took my paycheck, said it was rent, and told me it still wasn't enough. Then one night I came home late from work. He was sitting in the dark waiting. "You think you can just come and go as you please," he said, his voice low. "And mean you think this is a hotel?" I tried to explain that my shift ran late, but he cut me off. "I don't care," he said. "I'm tired of having you here. You're not my daughter. You're not my responsibility. And I'm done pretending I didn't sleep that night." I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, knowing something bad was coming, and I was right, because the next day, my 16th birthday, he told me to pack my things. I thought he was joking at first, or trying to scare me, but he stood there, watching as I stuffed my clothes into garbage bags, his face completely blank. "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked, my voice shaking. "That's not my problem," he said. "You're 16, you can get a job. Find a friend to stay with, figure it out like everyone else." "I don't have any friends," I said. "Most of them stopped talking to me after Mom died." He shrugged. "Then you should have tried harder." I begged, I cried, I promised I'd stay out of his way, that I'd pay more rent, that I'd do anything he wanted, and he just stared at me with dead eyes and said, "The decision is made. You need to leave." Now I called my mom's sister, my Aunt Janice, but she was struggling herself with 3 kids and said she couldn't take me in. I called my school counselor, but it was after hours. I called a friend from work who let me crash on her couch for 2 nights before her parents said I couldn't stay, and just like that, I was homeless at 16. The next few months were a blur. I slept in parks and shelters, on buses when I could afford a ticket. I kept going to school because I didn't know what else to do, but it was hard to focus when I didn't know where I'd sleep that night. I lost weight. My grades tanked. Teachers asked if I was okay, and I lied because I was ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know that my own stepfather had thrown me away like trash. I got fired from my grocery store job because I didn't have a permanent address. For the tax forms, I stole food from gas stations because I was starving. I cried myself to sleep more nights than I can count, and through it all, Richard never called, never checked on me, never once asked if I was alive or dead. I was 16 and I learned what it felt like to be completely invisible, to not matter to anyone, and that feeling hollowed me out in ways I'm still trying to fix. But I survived. I don't know how, but I did. A teacher finally noticed and connected me with a social worker who got me into a transitional housing program for teens. I finished high school barely and got into community college on financial aid. I worked overnight shifts at a diner, studied during the day, and slept maybe 4 hours a night. I graduated with my associate's degree, then transferred to a university on scholarship. I became a nurse because I remembered what it felt like to be alone and scared, and I wanted to help people who felt that way too. I worked my ass off, paid off my loans, bought a small apartment, and built a life that was mine, a life that Richard had no part in, and I didn't think about him much anymore. I didn't hate him because hating him gave him power. I just erased him from my memory the way he'd erased me from his life. And then 3 weeks ago, my stepsister Hannah called. I almost didn't answer. I didn't recognize the number, but something made me pick up. Maya, she said, her voice tight. It's Hannah. I need to talk to you. I hadn't spoken to Hannah in 8 years. She was Richard's daughter from his first marriage, and we'd never been close. She was older, already out of the house when I lived there, and the few times we'd met, she'd treated me like an inconvenience. What do you want? I asked, my voice flat. It's Dad. She said he's sick, really sick, kidney failure. He needs a transplant, and none of us are a match, but you might be. I laughed. I actually laughed. Why would I help him? Hannah, he kicked me out when I was 16, left me homeless, told me I wasn't his problem. She was quiet for a moment, then said, that was a long time ago. Maya, people change. He's different now. He regrets what he did. Is he dead yet? I asked, because if not, then he hasn't suffered enough. She gasped. You don't mean that? I do, I said, and hung up. But she didn't stop. She called again, texted, sent emails. She showed up at my apartment one evening with her husband and said, please, Maya, we're begging you. He's dying without a transplant. He has maybe 6 months. Just get tested, see if you're a match, and if you are, please consider donating. I looked at her standing in my doorway, this woman who'd never once checked on me after I was thrown out, and I said, where were you when I was sleeping in parks? Where was your concern when I was starving, when I was scared, when I had no one? Hannah, she started crying, saying she didn't know it was that bad, that Richard had told everyone I'd run away, that I was rebellious and chose to leave. He lied. I said, and you believed him because it was easier than caring. Now you want me to give him a piece of my body to save his life after he tried to destroy mine. She wiped her eyes. You're a nurse, Maya. You save lives every day. How is this different? Because those people didn't throw me away. I said, this man looked at a 16-year-old girl who'd just lost her mother and decided she was disposable. He doesn't deserve my mercy. She left crying, and I thought that was the end of it, but 2 days later, Richard himself called. His voice was weak, raspy. Maya, please, I know I don't deserve to ask, but I'm begging you. I'm dying, and you're the only one who can help me. I felt nothing hearing his voice. No anger, no sadness, just cold emptiness. You told me I wasn't your problem, I said. Remember that you told me to figure it out on my own, so figure this out on your own, Richard. I made mistakes, he said, his voice breaking. I was angry after your mother died. I didn't know how to handle a teenager. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Sorry, I repeated. You're sorry. Now that you need something from me, where was your sorry 8 years ago? Where was it when I was alone and terrified? He was quiet, then said, please, Maya, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. What can you give me that I don't already have? I asked. I have a home. I have a career. I have a life I built, all of that. Without you, I don't need your apology, and I sure as hell don't need your gratitude. You're dying, and you're scared good now. You know how I felt when you abandoned me, and just like you did to me, I'm going to tell you you're not my problem anymore. Figure it out. I hung up and blocked his number, but the calls kept coming from Hannah, from Richard's brother, from family. Friends all saying the same things: be the bigger person. He's family, forgiveness is healing. You're a nurse, you took an oath to help people, and every time I said the same thing: he's not my family. He lost that right when he threw me out, and my oath as a nurse is to care for my patients, not for the man who abused me. Forgiveness isn't something he gets to demand, and healing doesn't mean I have to set myself on fire to keep him warm. Then Hannah showed up at my workplace. She cornered me in the hospital cafeteria and said, Maya, please, he's in the hospital now. He's getting worse every day. Just come see him, talk to him. I stared at her. Why would I do that? Because he's dying, she said, and whether you like it or not, he was part of your life. Doesn't that mean anything? It means he had the chance to be a father, and he chose to be a monster. I said it means he had the power to protect me, and he chose to hurt me instead. So no, Hannah, it doesn't mean anything except that I know exactly who he is, and I'm choosing not to save him. She started crying again. People were staring, but I didn't care. You're being cruel, she whispered. I'm being honest. I said cruelty is what he did to me. This is just consequences. A week later, I got a call from the hospital, a social worker saying Richard had listed me as a potential donor and asking if I'd come in to discuss it. I went, not because I was reconsidering, but because I wanted to see him one last time. I wanted him to look me in the eye. While I said no, they led me to his room, and there he was, Richard, the man who'd loomed so large in my nightmares, now small and frail in a hospital bed hooked up to machines. His face was gray, his hands shaking, and when he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. Maya, he whispered, thank God you came. I didn't come to save you, I said. I came to make sure you understand why I'm letting you die. His face crumpled. Please, don't do this. I'm begging you. You begged me to, I said. Remember, I begged you to let me stay, and you said no. I begged you not to throw me out, and you told me I wasn't your problem. So now I'm telling you, you're not my problem. This is what you taught me, Richard, that people are disposable, that family means nothing, that survival is all that matters. So congratulations. I survived, and now you get to see exactly what kind of person you created. He reached for my hand, and I stepped back. Don't touch me, I said. You lost that right a long time ago. His voice was barely a whisper. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm so sorry. Your sorry means nothing, I said. It doesn't undo the nights I spent on park benches. It doesn't erase the hunger, the fear, the shame. It doesn't give me back the childhood you stole. So keep your apology. I don't want it. Then what do you want? He asked, sobbing. What can I do? I want you to die, knowing that I could have saved you, but chose not to. I said, I want you to feel what it's like to be abandoned by the one person who could help you. I want you to spend your last days understanding that you did this to yourself, and when you're gone, I'm going to live my life fully and happily, and I'm never going to think about you again, because that's what you deserve. Nothing. His face went pale, and he looked at Hannah, who was standing in the corner. She was crying too. Please, Maya, she said. He's learned his lesson. He's suffered enough. He hasn't suffered a fraction of what I did, I said, and I walked out. 2 weeks later, Richard died. His kidneys failed, and there were no other matches. Hannah sent me a text. You killed him. It said you could have saved him, and you let him die. I hope you can live with that. I replied easily, then blocked her number, because the truth is I can live with it. I sleep fine at night. I go to work. I see my friends. I live my life. And I don't feel guilty, not even a little, because Richard made his choices and I made mine. He chose to throw me away, and I chose not to save him. And if people think that makes me cruel or heartless, I don't care. They didn't live what I lived. They didn't survive what I survived, and they don't get to tell me I owed him anything, because I didn't owe him forgiveness. I didn't owe him my kidney. I didn't owe him a single second of my time. And when he died, I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't send flowers. I didn't acknowledge it at all, because he was nothing to me. So tell me, if someone threw you out at 16, said you weren't their problem, and left you to fend for yourself, would you save them years later when they came crawling back? Would you be the bigger person would you forgive and forget, or would you look them in the eye and say, "You're not my problem anymore"? Because I chose the latter, and I choose it again every single time, because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is let the people who hurt you face the consequences of their own cruelty and walk away without looking back.